"Water's amazing," she shouted, her voice brimming with triumph. Her friends trailed behind, laughing and chattering loudly, completely unaware that chemistry was silently at work beneath that crystal-clear surface. Then it happened. The first to notice was Linda, one of Karen's friends. "Karen, your skin, something's seriously off," she yelled, her voice panicked, her hand shooting up out of the water. Under the blazing sunlight, her skin began to splotch with deep purple, spreading fast, like spilled ink. Karen glanced down at her own hands, then let out a horrified scream that almost made me laugh. "What the hell is happening?" Her usually pale white skin was now a vivid purple, like a chameleon dunked in industrial dye. The whole group lost it. They scrambled out of the lake, screaming, tripping over each other, their stuff scattering everywhere. Expensive makeup streamed down their faces in grotesque purple streaks, glossy manicured nails now looking like the claws of some demon. "I've got my 25th wedding anniversary next week," one woman wailed, staring at her stark purple legs. "I can't show up like this." Karen stood there, water dripping off her, her face twisted with fury and humiliation. "He did this on purpose," she growled, her eyes darting around wildly before locking onto a hidden camera, its red light blinking as if mocking her. "Me?" I sat in my room, phone in hand, a wave of satisfaction washing over me as I watched 8 purple-tinted ladies sprinting through the neighborhood, leaving trails of water and shrieks echoing down the street. "I'm James Washington, 42 years old, a black man born in the slums on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama. For 22 years as a cop, I've faced every kind of trouble, from petty thieves to gun-waving lunatics in the dead of night. That job taught me how to stay calm in front of lawbreakers, and I've always prided myself on reading people just by looking into their eyes. After more than 2 decades of grinding, saving every penny of my measly paycheck, and working overtime until I was bone-tired, I finally bought my dream house in Willow Creek, a suburb of Seattle. A 3-story home with a big garden and a 12-foot deep pool shimmering under the rare sunlight. I figured I'd earn some rest. But I never imagined that dream would drag a nightmare named Karen Phillips along with it. Drop a comment with the number 9 down below so I know you're ready for the twist where I had no choice but to take matters into my own hands in the story. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any of the wild details still coming your way. It was a sweltering summer afternoon in Willow Creek. I was sprawled out on a chair in my yard, eyes closed, soaking in the hot, humid breeze brushing across my face, trying to let go of those tense years in law enforcement. My pool, the one I'd dreamed of since I first saw it online, glinted in the sunlight like a precious gem. I was quietly thanking life when a piercing police siren shattered the peace. I snapped my eyes open. 3 patrol cars screeched to a halt in front of my gate, tires grinding on gravel, kicking up clouds of dust. 4 officers stepped out, hands resting on their holsters, walking toward my fence with faces tight as bowstrings. "Sir, we got a report of a dangerous intruder lurking around this pool area," one cop said, his tone stiff and suspicious, his eyes scanning me like I was the suspect. "Have you seen anyone shady around here?" I sat up straight, that old familiar irritation bubbling in my chest like a heavy stone. I didn't need to think twice, I knew exactly who was behind this. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Karen Phillips, my nightmare of a neighbor, peeking through her window curtains. Her pursed lips curled into a smug little smirk. This wasn't her first stunt. Just last week, she called the fire department to my place, claiming she smelled smoke from my backyard when all I'd burned was a few logs in the fireplace days earlier. But this time she'd upped her game. I thought to myself, you want a war, Karen? Fine. But this is the last time you mess with me. Let me tell you how it all started. If you're hooked, smash that like button. If not, just leave a yes in the comments. 3 months ago, I moved into this house with pride like nothing else. After 22 years protecting the community, sleepless nights, near-death chases, I'd done what my parents never dared dream of. I owned a home in the fanciest part of Willow Creek. This place was everything to me: 3 spacious floors, a lush green garden, and best of all, a 12-foot deep pool I fell in love with at first sight. The previous owner treated it like a work of art, and I'd pictured myself unwinding there 100 times after those long, brutal days. On my first day, I was rearranging some patio furniture when I felt eyes on me. I looked up and saw Karen Phillips at her 3rd-floor window next door, phone in hand, staring at me like a hawk eyeing prey. I waved, figuring I'd be friendly with my new neighbor. She didn't wave back, just yanked the curtains shut and vanished. Back then, I thought she was just quirky. I had no clue it was the start of a storm. The next day, I drove 8 miles to a hardware store for some paint and tools. While I was picking out cans, my phone buzzed, a notification from the security camera I'd set up the day before. I opened the app and what I saw nearly made me drop my phone. Karen Phillips strolling through my back gate, bold as day, like it was her own yard. She was decked out in a fancy swimsuit, the kind I knew cost more than my old monthly salary, carrying a crocodile skin bag and a gaudy embroidered towel. She casually dropped her stuff on a chair by the pool, kicked off her heels, slipped into the water, and even grabbed the fruit juice I'd left on the table yesterday, sipping it like it was hers. I raced home as fast as I could, heart pounding with rage. When I stormed into the backyard, Karen was still swimming, wet hair plastered to her face, giving me a fake shocked look as I shouted, "What are you doing in my house?" She popped up from the water, clapped her hands to her chest like a bad stage actress, and exclaimed, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were the new gardener. The old owner of this house always invited me over to swim, so I just assumed you'd be the same." Her smug little smirk made me want to punch the chair next to me, but I took a deep breath, calling back those emotion control lessons from my cop days. "I'm not the gardener," I said, my voice hard as stone. "I'm the new owner, and I'm asking you to leave right now. Don't ever come in here again without my permission." Karen raised an eyebrow, eyeing me up and down with blatant suspicion. "You? The owner?" she scoffed. "There's got to be some mistake. I know the real estate agent who sold this place really well, and you don't exactly look like the type I picture buying it." She waved a hand at me, her racist undertone crystal clear without needing to spell it out. I clenched my fists but kept myself steady. "No mistake, Ms. Phillips. This is my house and you're trespassing. Get out now or I'll call the police." She climbed out of the pool slowly, water dripping onto the patio, gathering her things with an annoyed look. As she passed me, she muttered, "I'll show you who really belongs here." It wasn't just idle talk, it was a declaration of war. A few weeks later, things got worse than I'd imagined. One Saturday morning, I jolted awake to laughter and splashing water. I looked out the window and couldn't believe my eyes. Karen had brought 5 friends, all women in pricey swimsuits, throwing a party in my yard. My pool was a mess, beer cans, tissues, even those little cocktail umbrellas floating on the surface. I stepped outside, keeping my voice as calm as I could. "You all need to leave. This is private property." Karen leaned against a chair, wine glass in hand, waving me off like I was a fly. "Oh, don't make a big deal out of it. We're just having some fun. No one's even using this pool anyway." Her friends glanced at me, some started awkwardly packing up, but one whispered, "Karen said she's allowed to be here." I took a deep breath, pulling up those de-escalation tricks from training. "Miss Phillips, this is my last warning. Next time, I'm calling the cops for real." She smirked, sauntering off with one final jab. "Go ahead and call. My husband's tight with the police chief. They have breakfast together every week." That afternoon, I installed 3 more security cameras around the house. 22 years as a cop taught me one thing: to beat someone like Karen, you need proof. And sure enough, just a few days later, the cameras caught her sneaking around my gate, peering through windows, even trying an old key from the previous owner to get into my house. Then came the day I couldn't take it anymore. I'd gone to the store for groceries, and when I got back, there were 9 women, Karen's book club this time, lounging around my pool. Wine stains covered the table, their laughter bouncing across the yard. I called the police right then and there. 2 of my old colleagues, Officer Brooks and Officer Lopez, showed up. "James? Man, it's been forever," Brooks said with a big grin, but then he saw the scene and sighed. "Another one of these situations, huh?" Karen switched her tone in an instant, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you so much for coming, officers. This man's been harassing us. The old owner always let us use the pool and he's being completely unreasonable." Lopez cut her off. "Ma'am, James Washington was one of the best cops we've ever had. If he says you're trespassing, you're trespassing. Leave now or we'll have to write you up." She stormed off with her friends, her face flushed red with humiliation. But before she left, she gritted her teeth and whispered to me, "This isn't over. You don't belong here, and I'll make sure the whole neighborhood knows it." From then on, Karen shifted to a dirtier war. Anonymous posts started popping up on the neighborhood Facebook group, claiming suspicious activity at my house. My morning paper vanished every day. The HOA got dozens of ridiculous complaints that my yard was messy. Even though I mowed the lawn faithfully every week, none of it surprised me. My cameras caught her stealing my paper at 5 in the morning, snapping photos of my house at midnight, even sprinkling weed killer on the tulips I'd spent 3 months growing. The breaking point came at the monthly HOA meeting. Karen stood up, her voice dripping with fake concern. "I'm worried about property values in this area. Some recent changes have made my clients uneasy." She shot me a glance, her meaning unmistakable. I stood up, phone in hand. Property values are a great topic, Miss Phillips. How do you explain this video? You pouring weed killer on my garden at 1 in the morning last Thursday. The room went dead silent as I played the clip. Karen's face went pale, but she scrambled for an excuse. I was just checking for vandals. We've had a lot of that around here lately. Sure, I replied, ice in my voice. And now everyone knows who the real vandal is. That night, I found my pool filled with industrial chemicals. Not just regular soap, but something harsh, reeking, turning the water murky and sending up faint wisps of smoke. Staring at the chemical bubbles floating on the surface, I knew I had to act. Karen wanted to play dirty? Fine. I'd give her a lesson she'd never forget. I remembered an old case. A colleague once mentioned a harmless dye used in pool maintenance, one that only activates when it hits the chemicals in high-end cosmetics and sticks to skin for a week. For the first time in months, I smiled. Game on, Karen. For the first time in 3 months of living this nightmare, I cracked a grin. Not out of joy, but because I knew I was about to hand Karen Phillips a lesson she'd carry forever. To me, dealing with a bully like her didn't need fists or guns. Tools I'd mastered over 22 years as a cop. No, I'd use something legal, harmless, but unforgettable. A sweet revenge born from their own arrogance. I researched it like I was cracking a major case. The dye I ordered was professional-grade pool maintenance stuff, completely safe, used by big companies to spot leaks. The best part? It only reacts with the chemicals in sunscreen and fancy cosmetics. The exact kind Karen and her snooty friends slathered on every time they invaded my pool without asking. I tested it first in a small bucket, using the same brand of sunscreen Karen loved, the one she'd left behind on my pool chair once. The results were better than I'd hoped. The water turned a deep, vibrant purple, sticking to skin for at least 10 days. Non-toxic, not permanent, but more than enough to make her the laughingstock of Willow Creek. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Through some nosy neighbors, I heard Karen was gearing up for yet another unauthorized pool party that weekend. Her 5th one this month. She called it a little get-together to protect the neighborhood's property values. But I knew it was just an excuse to keep antagonizing me. A black guy she thought didn't belong here. I prepared like it was a sting operation. I set up for hidden cameras around every angle of the pool, making sure nothing would slip by. I poured the dye into the water, following the manufacturer's exact dose. It stayed crystal clear, sparkling like nothing was wrong, just waiting for them to walk into the trap. The night before, I saw Karen standing in her backyard, phone in hand, pointing toward my house like a general plotting a battle. Yeah, that guy's always gone all day on Sundays, she said loudly, making sure I'd hear her through the fence. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Bring your best swimsuits. I smirked in the shadows, thinking to myself, go ahead, Karen. This time, I'll show you who gets the last laugh. The next morning, I made a show of loading stuff into my car, letting Karen catch a glimpse through her window. I drove off, but not far. I circled around, parked 300 meters down the street, then slipped back quietly through the side gate into my office, with a window overlooking the pool. I settled in, phone ready to record, and waited. The camera app buzzed right on cue. 11 in the morning, Karen was testing my back gate. This time, I wasn't mad. I just sat there, chin in hand, waiting for karma to do its job. At 1 in the afternoon, Karen strutted in like a queen, acting like the pool was her personal kingdom. Behind her came 8 friends, all wealthy housewives toting designer bags decked out in flashy brand-name swimsuits glinting in the sun. They set up their party like it was a performance, imported champagne, fresh seafood, a Bluetooth speaker blasting fancy classical music. Karen raised her glass, her voice dripping with arrogance. Welcome to our Sunday paradise, ladies. That black guy'll never know a thing. Her friends giggled, a few glancing around nervously, but the Seattle heat soon melted away their hesitation. They started slathering on sunscreen, the expensive kind I'd tested, layering it thick on their skin. Karen jumped into the pool first, pulling off a perfect dive like she was showing off. The water's amazing, she shouted, her voice triumphant. Her friends followed, laughing and chattering loudly, totally clueless that chemistry was quietly working beneath that pristine surface. Then it finally happened. The first to notice was Linda, one of Karen's friends. "Karen, your skin, something seriously weird," she yelled, her voice panicked, yanking her hand out of the water. Under the blazing sunlight, her skin started splotching with deep purple, spreading fast, like spilled ink. Karen looked down at her own hands, then let out a horrified scream that almost made me laugh. What the hell is happening? Her usually ghostly pale skin turned a blazing purple like a chameleon dipped in industrial dye. The whole group freaked out. They scrambled out of the pool, screaming, tripping over each other, their stuff flying everywhere. Expensive makeup streamed down their faces in creepy purple streaks, glossy manicured nails now looking like demon claws. "I've got my 25th wedding anniversary next week," one woman wailed, staring at her stark purple legs. "I can't show up like this." Karen stood there, water dripping off her, her face twisted with rage and shame. "He did this on purpose," she growled, her eyes darting around wildly before locking onto one of my hidden cameras, its red light blinking like it was taunting her. I sat in my room, phone in hand, a wave of satisfaction washing over me as I watched 8 purple-tinted ladies sprinting through the neighborhood, leaving trails of water and piercing shrieks echoing down the street. The video I posted online that night hit like a bomb. I edited it carefully, starting with Karen trashing my garden at 1 in the morning, stealing my newspaper at 5, then cutting to the pool party turning into a purple disaster, all layered with the classical music they'd been playing. Within 12 hours, it racked up 5 million views. Local Seattle news jumped on it. "Power-tripping Karen turns purple with envy" became the hottest headline. The camera footage laid bare her blatant racism, her use of real estate clout to intimidate me, a black man daring to live among white elites, and capped it off with that glorious purple transformation. Karen's real estate company took a nosedive. Their website drowned in mocking comments, purple emojis everywhere, people asking if they should trust a trespasser with their property. By Tuesday morning, they put out a statement: "We value personal property rights. The behavior in the video doesn't reflect our company's values." But I knew it was just damage control. Her husband, a golf buddy of the local police chief, had clearly been using cash and connections to keep her out of legal trouble all this time. The neighborhood WhatsApp group blew up. People who'd stayed quiet before started speaking out. She once called the cops on the Harris kids for selling lemonade on the street, said it was tanking property values. One person wrote. She sued old Mrs. Lee over her dog, claiming it degraded the living environment. Another chimed in. The wall of silence finally crumbled. The most satisfying moment came when Karen, still splotched with purple, tried posting an apology video. "I just wanted to uphold the neighborhood's standards," she sobbed, her purple face glowing under the lights like a horror movie witch. That video went viral too, but it only humiliated her more. I didn't need to say a word. I just sat by my pool waving whenever I caught a purple shadow lurking behind her curtains. Karen's lawyer sent a letter demanding I take the video down, but I fired back with a stack of evidence, clips of her vandalism, her trespassing, plus the police reports I'd quietly filed earlier. "You can't prove the dye was targeted at us," the lawyer wrote back. I sent them footage of her dumping weed killer in my garden. The argument ended right there. The neighborhood changed fast. People who used to avoid me started stopping by to chat. Mrs. Chin from across the street brought homemade bao buns. "I should have spoken up sooner," she said. Karen reported me to the HOA for hanging tet lanterns, called them too foreign. The Harris family told me how Karen nearly cost them their house with endless complaints about their kids' playset. Even her closest friends drifted away, especially since a few of them were still faintly purple after 10 days. Karen tried one last counterattack, calling a neighborhood meeting about toxic chemicals in the pool. But only 5 people showed up, all wearing purple ribbons to support me. I overheard her husband grumbling at the golf club. "With her looking purple like that, how's she supposed to do business? Clients think she's got some contagious disease." Through it all, I kept the calm of a veteran cop. When a reporter asked, I just said, "Anyone's." 3 weeks later, a for sale sign popped up in front of Karen's house. The purple had faded from her skin, but her reputation? That was stained forever. She started taking a 2-mile detour to avoid my place, especially when I threw weekend pool parties. Mine were legal, with invitations sent out, featuring ribs I grilled myself. Kids splashed around. Adults chatted. Building a community Karen once tore apart under the guise of protection. "You know, Paul, who lives 3 houses down, said while helping me prep for the 4th of July party. I've been here 25 years and never really knew my neighbors. That's changed now." The pool sparkled behind him, like proof of his words. The Chun kids started a little game, tiptoeing past Karen's house in swimsuits, whispering loudly, "Don't let Karen find out." Their parents cracked up too. The realtors selling her house had to reassure buyers, "No, the pool incident didn't hurt the value. The purple dye was just temporary." The last time Karen showed up at an HOA meeting, she tried to launch into a speech about neighborhood decline. But as she stood, someone in the back softly sang, "Living purple ain't easy." The room erupted in laughter, and she bolted, her face flushed red against the faint purple streaks still lingering. The day her moving truck pulled away, I raised a glass of lemonade in my yard, not to celebrate her leaving, but to savor the power of standing up to a bully, a fight that brought this neighborhood together. A year and a half later, my pool's still the heart of Willow Creek. The new family in Karen's old house, a mixed-race couple with 3 kids, fit right in. I even teach their little ones to swim on weekends. Someone asked about the small photo near the pool gate, the one of purple people scattering in chaos. I just smiled. That's proof justice knows how to make waves. The cameras are still rolling, but now they capture joy. Birthdays, swim lessons, summer nights buzzing with laughter. HOA meetings are shorter, friendlier. No more gripes about property values from people like Karen. Last week, I got an email from a news station. Karen, now living in another state, was stirring trouble again. This time demanding access to someone's private golf course, threatening lawsuits over community rights. I laughed, marked it red, then floated in my pool. Sometimes revenge isn't about stooping low. It's about showing them they can't keep winning with money, power, and prejudice. My pool's not just a place to unwind anymore. It's a symbol of standing tall against the Karens out there. If you've ever met a Karen in your life, here's a tip. Let karma do its thing, but don't forget the cameras, and maybe a little purple dye. The story of James and Karen Phillips is a vivid slice of modern life, where personal clashes and biases simmer beneath the surface of seemingly peaceful neighborhoods. It reminds us that, in the divide between injustice and rights, the real value isn't in fighting back with force, but in building unity and defending your worth through resilience and creativity. James didn't just beat Karen. He turned a nightmare into a chance for the neighborhood to find its voice again. Through this tale, we can see a lesson. When facing hardship, choose a response that shines a light on your dignity and inspires others. Note that this story is meant for entertainment and education, not to discriminate, criticize, or offend any person or group. What do you think of it? Drop your thoughts in the comments so we can dig deeper together. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to explore more thought-provoking stories with us. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. Wishing you a peaceful day, and see you in the next one.